Hello and welcome. Are you a weekend warrior or a DIY type? Then you're in the right place. My name's Sean and I would like to introduce you to the Blue Demon BlueArc 160STI. Over the next few minutes, I'd like to share with you some of the key features of the BlueArc, and then we'll demonstrate the machine by running a few beads. This is an inverter style machine that can be ran on 110 or 230 volt. This is also referred to as a dual voltage machine, which means you can plug your machine in to a 110 volt outlet or a 230 volt outlet using the supplied adapter. The amperage range of this machine runs from 15 amps to 160 amps. However, the actual welding amps of the machine will depend on the outlet you're plugged into. When using a 110 volt outlet, your machine will max out at 110 amps. Likewise, when using a 230 volt outlet, your machine will go all the way up to 160 amps. When operating your welder, you'll need to have a general awareness of how much time you actually spend welding. The BlueArc 160 has a 35% duty cycle at 160 welding amps when using a 230 volt outlet. What this means is you can weld for 3.5 minutes at 160 amps before you'll need to allow your machine to cool. If you overheat your machine, the BlueArc 160 will stop welding and you'll receive a warning light. The light is located on the front of the machine as seen here. Now that you got your machine plugged in and you know the duty cycle, let's talk about welding. The BlueArc 160 can arc weld or stick weld and TIG weld. That makes it a very versatile machine for any weekend warrior or DIY. Your machine comes with an electrode holder, grounding clamp, the TIG torch, some TIG accessories, and a flow meter. Many welders do not come with a TIG torch or flow meter, but that's where the BlueArc 160 stands out. Let's stop here for a moment before we fire our BlueArc 160 up. We need to talk about safety. The welding process can produce harmful light, fumes, sparks, and flying slag, just to name a few. You should always wear the proper attire and equipment while welding. This includes, but is certainly not limited to, a welding hood, welding jacket or a long sleeve shirt. I would suggest cotton or wool, as synthetic materials could melt to your skin. Next, you'd want to select the proper thickness of gloves, some ear protection, and safety glasses. Pro tip: many welders wear respirators like the ones seen here. It filters out some harmful stuff floating in the air. The other thing it does, it directs the hot air you breathe down and out of your hood. If you've ever welded before, you know the lens can become so fogged you can't see anything. Now that we've covered the safety portion, let's set up our BlueArc 160 for arc welding, and I'll demonstrate some of the welding capabilities of this machine. For this demonstration, I'll be using Blue Demon's E7018, so my grounding clamp will be plugged in here, and my electrode cable will be plugged in here. Next, ensure the toggle switch is set in the arc welding position. It's that simple. I have some 1/4 inch coupons that have been previously tack welded together. We've got our electrodes. Now we're going to set our BlueArc 160 to 125 amps and demonstrate the welding. When preparing to weld, you need to keep a few things in mind. Number one, get comfortable. You want to make the best weld you can, so you want to be as comfortable as you can get. Number two, make a few dry runs, even when you're practicing. What are dry runs, you ask? Dry runs are when you go through the motions of welding, but you're not actually welding. This will give you a good idea of what you may encounter as you weld. An example of this was moments ago before I started welding. I worked my way across the workpiece like I was welding. Number three, while welding, you typically want to keep a tight arc. Whether you're arc or TIG welding, holding a tight arc will increase your chances of creating a good and strong weld. In our case, a good rule of thumb is for the arc length to be no longer than the core of the electrode you're using. For a more comprehensive explanation on arc welding, head on over to YouTube and search for arc welding clams. That's CLAMS. Next, let's talk about TIG welding. The TIG process is a little more involved and requires a few more items. Your BlueArc 160 comes with a very popular air-cooled 17 style torch. The torch comes with a number 6 cap, 1/16 collet, 1/16 collet body, a stubby back cap, and a long back cap. But you'll still need to purchase a few items to complete your setup. You'll need a 1/16 diameter tungsten, filler metal, and a tank of 100% argon. For this demonstration, I've selected a 2% thoriated tungsten and ER70S2 filler rod. Next, let's set up the BlueArc 160 and prepare to weld. First, we need to attach the flow meter to the tank of argon and connect the torch to the flow meter and the machine. Pro tip: each time you hook up your hose or flow meter, you should always check for leaks. I keep a spray bottle of soapy water on my welding cart to do just that. It's a cheap and easy way to ensure my machine will operate like it should and I'm not wasting argon. Also, when opening your bottle of argon, you never want to stand in front of your flow meter. If it were to fail, you wouldn't want flying parts to hit you. Now that we have our argon hooked up, next we'll focus on the TIG torch. Before installing your tungsten, you may need to cut it in half, and you will most definitely want to sharpen it. There are several ways to sharpen the tungsten. I would advise searching the internet and choose the method that works best for you. Let's turn our attention to the BlueArc 160. We will need to switch to TIG mode, and we'll need to make sure our cables are connected correctly. We need to connect our torch to the negative side and the grounding clamp to the positive side. Now select the amperage. When selecting the amperage, you can typically use 1 amp per 1/1000th of an inch in material thickness. However, this can change depending on the task, material, and technique. We're now set and ready to weld. Once again, I have 2 1/4-inch coupons previously tack welded together to demonstrate. The BlueArc 160 is a lift arc style machine, so to initiate the arc, I will need to lightly touch the metal with the tungsten. To begin my weld, I want to rest the cup on the workpiece, then rock it forward, touch the material, then rock it back. For more TIG welding tips, I would advise searching YouTube. Once again, remember to get comfortable and make a few dry runs before welding. As you get more practice, these 2 steps will be the key to your success. Next, you will want to focus on cleanliness. You always want your metal to be free of oils and rust. However, it's extremely important when TIG welding. You will want to remove all rust, paint, and mill scale. You are looking to weld on bright, shiny metal. Next, you want to ensure you're using the correct tungsten. Not all tungstens are created equal, so do some research to see what works best for your application. After you choose your tungsten, you will want to put the proper grind on it. The grind will typically be shaped like an extremely sharp pencil, and you'll want to grind your tungsten long ways instead of sideways. Another important part of TIG welding is torch angle. Most of what I have read typically says 70 degrees, where 90 degrees is straight up and down. However, 70 degrees is a great place to start when practicing, but I would experiment with different torch angles. Once again, the BlueArc 160 did a great job. Last but not least, let's not forget about how light and portable the BlueArc 160 is. It only weighs 10.5 pounds, and it comes with this really heavy-duty carrying case, so you can be as portable as it is. Blue Demon's BlueArc 160 STI, dual voltage, 35% duty cycle, comes with a TIG torch and regulator, extremely portable, and a heavy-duty and carrying case. With a combination like that, how can you go wrong? When choosing your next or first welder, please remember Blue Demon's BlueArc 160 STI. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.